King.
Okay. Brothers and sisters, good morning. Welcome to Radio Ramadan. You're now tuned to Radio Ramadan with me, Ali Kamara, the Muslim Poet, 87.9 on your FM dial. I have a special guest in the studio today. He is a poet. He is a charity worker, youth advisor. He does a lot of work in the community. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mizan the poet to the show.
Assalamu alaikum, guys. How you guys doing?
Salam. Yeah, we're good, Mizan. Very well, thank you. Welcome to Radio Ramadan with me, Ali Kamara, the Muslim poet. I hope you're well. And I just want to say, may Allah bless you in this holy month of Ramadan, Mizan.
You too, brother. Thank you so much for the invite.
May accept your du'as and may accept your shortcomings and my shortcomings, inshallah. How's your Ramadan going, first of all, man? Fill me in.
Ramadan's all right. Ramadan's okay. So it started off bad. It started off like for me, what could have been the worst way to start off. But it's ending off better, and to be honest with you, that's the thing that I'm focusing on. The fact is that it's ending off in a way that I want to read more Quran. I'm going to do more of this stuff,
MashaAllah,
after Ramadan. Just want to continue doing all these things, even just like the late night prayers, because like as I was telling you before, because like I'm working from home, I don't have to worry about like should I do the late night prayers or not, because I won't have to worry about work. So even doing the late night prayers, doing extra prayers and stuff, like, the love of that has gone up a little bit. So it's really, really nice. And so I aim to kind of harbor that and incubate that and basically make sure that I do a little bit more. One thing I decided, like in Ramadan, to do is like, in Ramadan, like some of us go overboard and it's like, you burn yourself out. You do all the ibadah and stuff during the month, and then the rest of the month, you don't do as much.
Yeah.
I said to myself, you know what? It's for me to get the best out of it. I'm not going to go overboard. I'm going to keep moderate in my worship, but I'm going to be consistent in it and make sure that the extra that I do, I'm willing to do it after Ramadan as well, and just continue doing it. For me, it's like these continuous small deeds, but as the hadith goes, the Prophet Muhammad said that Allah loves small deeds as long as they're consistent. So just consistent deeds. Just doing extra prayers, reading more Quran during the week and stuff like that, pondering over the verses. Like I'd read Quran every now and again, but now I'm thinking, okay, more on a daily basis. And just that's it, really. That's it. So it's ending off like that, and for me, that's the best way you could end off. That's like, for me, it's like, okay, Allah's ending off like this, and it's me to actually do what I can to carry on with this, and hopefully next Ramadan we'll do some more ibadah and stuff like that.
Allah, inshallah. I mean, I think that happens for quite a lot of people. What happens is they start off, they can start off good or they can start off bad. But the most important thing I think is to know that sometimes you might not have a great beginning in terms of Ramadan, because sometimes that initial shock of going into that 30-day fast, when you haven't done it for the whole year. Some of us have to, there's a lot of people that fast Monday and Thursday, and so for them it's like when Ramadan comes, their body's already in sync. They're like, come, let's do this. You know what I mean? But for others, I think it can be quite difficult. But yeah, props to you, man. You've jumped on it now, and it's going good, and it's very rewarding as well. How rewarding is fasting, man? SubhanAllah. For the whole year, we put so much food in our stomach, right?
Yeah.
We eat and eat and eat and eat and eat, and then SubhanAllah, Ramadan comes, we stop completely. And even the scientists and the doctors have said fasting is so healthy for you.
It is obviously in moderation, but it is, and that's something that doctors and health professionals are prescribing intermittent fasting. Some fasting hours during the day and stuff like that. So fasting is very, very healthy for you as long as you do it the right way. I think for me, like, I just want to explain. So I don't want people to think I wasn't fasting. I was fasting for the whole of Ramadan. Alhamdulillah, I was.
I know you was.
It's just like during the start of it, there was other things that got in my way, in my way of worship. And although I pray 5 times a day, I've been doing all that. In the first week or so, like I was just doing the basics. And I'm like, you know what? There's other stuff going on. There's other things. I need to push all that stuff to one side. and I need to make a bit more of an effort to get the most out of the last 2 weeks that I had.
Inshallah.
So just doing the extra Quran reading and stuff, that has really helped. And one thing I did realize is that, like, you know, it's in any relationship, even with, you know, with your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like, you know, if you want to make the most out of it, you have to put in some effort. Relationships take effort to build. And,
100%.
you know, as you can tell, like, you know, like from a married life and stuff like that, or friendship, any form of relationship, you have to, it takes an effort. You have to do things.
Yeah.
So even maintaining,
you have to turn up, don't you? You really got to turn up in terms of.
You got to turn up, and you got to do your best, and you got to be sincere in what you're doing. So it's like, don't overburden yourself, but don't do too less. Like, find a middle path that is good for you. Like, if any brothers and sisters who are watching who like don't pray and all that kind of stuff, but want to pray, you know, like, do the amount of prayers that you can do for now, and then increase on it, and then but make sure you're consistent. And inshallah, hopefully by next Ramadan, or, you know, whenever Allah wills, things will get a lot more better. That's one thing I realized. Like, I have to make an effort. Like, literally, I have to make an effort. So, alhamdulillah, it's been good for me. What about you guys, man? What about Ramadan Radio?
It's been amazing, man. MashaAllah. It's been absolutely brilliant. We're just taking it in our stride. I was saying to somebody the other day, remember when we was fasting, right? And it was like 9:30 and the heat was just soaring down, you know? This April, we've been so blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have a cool Ramadan. Not too much heat, you know? And alhamdulillah, we've been able to pace ourselves without gasping for air or water.
Don't jinx it, bro. Don't jinx it. I don't want.
No, not jinxing it. No. I don't think so. To be honest with you, it's been absolutely amazing. Even if it was for the next 3 days, alhamdulillah, we would get the barakah and we would get the reward. Do you know what I'm saying? That the ending's going to be difficult because it's been smooth all the way through. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, and I don't know what you feel, but I feel as though fasting in Ramadan, Allah makes it so much easier. Like, I've tried fasting outside of Ramadan, and I'll be honest with you, man, I found it impossible. I found it really, really hard. And, you know, there have been times in previous Ramadans where I've had to miss fasting because of illness and stuff like that. I might get ill, might need to take medication. And I was telling this to a friend of mine the other day. Like, when we have to make up our fasts, it's like, you think to yourself, okay, like, you know, I'm going to do it in December. I'm going to make it up in December because the time is shorter. But when December comes, you're like, you know what? I'm going to do it like just before Ramadan starts. So you leave it like the day before and you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, what have I done?
You leave it like a week before, you're just trying to rush it in and just squeeze it in and get it in there. There's loads of people like that.
But then it's like the long hours and you're like, oh my God, why didn't I do this in like Christmas time? So it's those things. I found it very difficult. I found it like Allah makes it easier during Ramadan, that much more easier. And you know, it is true when they say that Ramadan is more easier, fasting is more easier to do in Ramadan. It truly is. So
why do you think that is, Mizan? For the viewers out there, why do you think that it's more easier to do in Ramadan? Is it?
I genuinely think Allah has put a lot of ease and barakah in Ramadan to do fasting. I genuinely do believe that there is a sort of special aspect of Ramadan that makes it so much more easier to do.
Do you sorry to cut you, do you feel the rahmah of Allah in Ramadan? Do you feel it in the air?
Oh yeah. There's something different about the month. There's something different. There's something so different about it.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, and
I would say, from my humble opinion, I would say that's just like a snippet of probably what Jannah is going to be like. Snippet, you know, when you feel that peace, that there's that overwhelming peace that you feel sometimes. I'm like, what is that? I can't explain it, but it's just an overwhelming peace, you know?
Yeah.
SubhanAllah.
Yeah, and I mean, definitely, and I believe that to be the case as well. So I definitely do believe that there's something in Ramadan which makes it so much more easier for people to fast. Because like I've said, it's like I've tried fasting outside, I have fasted and I've done fasts outside of Ramadan. And for some reason, it's a lot more harder. It's not even that thing where, you know, some people might think, oh, it's easy in Ramadan because, like, you know, the whole community is fasting and all that kind of stuff. There's something else about it. But outside of Ramadan, I felt impossible. Like if
really,
yeah. So it just felt like.
I'm gonna lie. I try to fast outside Ramadan, and in the winter days I find it easier. In the summer days, it's more difficult, to be honest with you. And winter time, Maghrib's like 4 o'clock, so it's not going to be difficult. Like really, it's going to be okay because it's at 4 o'clock. So it's 4:35 max maybe. So it's not that bad. But in the summers, I think it's more difficult to fast in the summer. Props off to the people.
But even during the winter time, like I told you, when when I was trying to make up those fasts during the winter time, I just felt it so much more harder. I was just like, I feel like breaking this fast. I literally just feel like breaking it. And that's why, like I'm like, okay, I've got a day. Like I'm just gonna make one more fast up. So the day before.
Boy, there's a few. I know there's a few people out there that have got a few days. But brothers and sisters, if anybody's listening, you tune into Radio Ramadan 87.9 in your FM dial, made Kamara Muslim Poet. We have a special guest in the studio today. We have Mizan the poet on the show today. We're talking about Ramadan and fasting and everything that involves Ramadan itself. Mizan, I want to touch on yourself. For the viewers that don't know you, I know that you're a poet. I know that you do a lot of work as well, like charity work and stuff like that. Well, for the viewers that don't know where you're from, where are you from originally? I know you're a Londoner. I believe you grew up in. You tell the people where you're from anyway. You tell.
Well, my parents are from Bangladesh, so ethnically I'm Bengali.
What part?
Sylhet. Sylhet, and
I've got friends from Molly Bazaar, so I know a bit.
Yeah, I think from there, near there, actually, near there. So
Sylhet and Molly Bazaar, are they like close together? What's?
I think so. I haven't been back to Bangladesh for a very long time, so I'm not really good in terms of
Chittagong, that's like far out, isn't it? That's not really
far out. And to be honest, those are some names that are ringing bells. Literally, what you're saying, Molloy Bazaar.
Well, I know my geography, I know my geography.
Well, have you been to Bangladesh?
No, not yet, but one day, inshallah. One of my good friends from there, Alam is from there. Alam is from Bangladesh, mashallah.
Right. Okay. So, so my parents are from Bangladesh. They came here. My brother and sister, my older brother and sister, they were both born in Bangladesh, but they came here with my parents.
Alhamdulillah.
And me and my younger brother were born here. So we were born, I'm born here, born and bred in London. And my experiences are all from here, really, to be honest with you. So ethnically, I'm Bengali, but in terms of my nationality, I'm British.
Do you speak fluent Bengali?
Sylheti Bengali, yeah. Matampani.
Okay. So there's Sylheti Bengali, and then there's different.
There's a lot of dialects.
How many dialects is there in Bangladesh?
I have no idea, but there's a lot. There's quite a lot. But the main ones are Sylheti, which is like the dialect that I speak, and there's Dakhai, which is like the more classical capital. It's more in the capital of Bangladesh, but that's like the more classical Bengali. So it's like you have classical English and normal English, like
right.
So there's a classical one, which is like the Dakhai stuff, which is like what they speak, and then you have the other stuff, which is dialect that I use. So the Sylheti dialect is that's the type of Bengali that I speak at home.
Fantastic. How many siblings do you have? A lot.
Well, I have an older sister and an older brother and a younger brother. So I have 2 brothers and 1 sister.
A big family, mashallah.
Yeah, you're right, man. What about yourself? How many siblings do you have?
You don't know how many I've got.
Where are you from, bro?
I've got
tell us where you're from. Tell us where you're from.
You know where I'm from. I'm from Sierra Leone, West Africa, Freetown. I have like 4 siblings. Yeah, I have 4 siblings. Yeah, I have I did have 5. One of my sisters passed away. May Allah have mercy on her. And so there's 4 of us left now. So I've got like two sisters and 2 brothers. Yeah, alhamdulillah. Yeah, alhamdulillah. Yeah. There was a lot of us, but such is life, So Mizan, tell us about your poetry.
Well, I started poetry properly in 2012, and poetry for me is a form of expression, just like a lot of other creative art forms. Poetry is a bit more is a bit more deeper than I would say a lot of more art forms. You can't hide when you're a poet. You can't hide your thoughts. You can't hide how you're feeling and where your mind is. So poetry for me is a real in-depth dialogue about my views and my opinions. And like I said, I've been doing it for like since 2012, and really my poetry kind of touches on political and social stuff.
How did you get the name Mizan the poet?
Well, my name is Mizan, and I just thought the poet, I can't be bothered to think of like a proper stage name. So there you go. So I really didn't
use your own name.
Yes, Mizan's my Mizanur, that's my proper Bengali name, Mizanur Rahman. But people at home and my friends call me Mizan. And then I just thought, you know what, just call me Mizan, the Palmer poet.
Just run with that. Just go with that.
Yeah, just run with that. Or people just call me Mizan on stage. So I really couldn't be bothered to think of a stage name. You know, people think of real good stage names and all these kind of things, archetype, minority, and all this stuff. I really couldn't be bothered. You know, it sounds
like me. I couldn't be bothered as well. I thought, what am I going to choose?
Just use your proper name.
Ali Kamara, the Muslim poet. Just choose that and done. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. So I just thought, okay, let me use that, and that's it. So yeah, kind of started like in 2012, and just been carrying on, just been going really. Actually, I started in 2006, and I gave up in 2008.
Why did you give up in 2008? Tell us why you gave up. Why? For me, that's a big ask. Why did you give up?
Just didn't know what you could do with it, really.
Are you saying at that stage you didn't really believe in it? I didn't.
I thought, okay, where am I? Not really sure where I'm going with this. But then it never really left. It was more like, because I'm always hanging around with creatives like yourself, Ishmael, all these other people. So, and also really I was really I really love the creative scene. So I'll be honest with you, like the rappers and singers and stuff like that. I know that's a bit of a controversial, contentious issue.
Yeah, but as we know, there is difference of opinion in Islam on a lot of things, especially when it comes to performing and music. In the time of the Prophet ﷺ, they had poets and stuff like that. So, and I'm not opinion amongst the ulama. Some people agree, some people disagree.
Yeah, so it's like that tension's always been there. So, but the thing is that I've always been like, for me, my friends have always been varied, like religious friends, creative friends, and stuff like that. So, but I've always loved creativity. I've always loved rhyming. I've always loved like when people make words rhyme and put complex messages in verses and stuff like that. I really, really love that stuff. So
what I like about your poems is that you always choose a title, or shall I say, a theme, which has which has a meaning to it. Like there's an issue there behind it. There's a story there behind it. It could be stolen, one of your poems. It could be death before dishonor. There has to be. What I like about the way you write, that there's actually something behind it. Now, I don't get that from some poets. I don't get that. I just get they write about something, but I don't get anything behind it. But with yourself, there's a story to it. There's something behind it. There's an issue that happened in society and stuff like that. So it's so relatable. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Not just to myself, but to other people. From what I can see and what I hear, it's really, really relatable. So, mashallah.
Thank you so much. No, thank you so much. Now, it's important because, like, through the realm of storytelling in my poetry, you can relate not just ideas, message, and complex messages, but like what I want to do is help other people feel what underprivileged people are going through, and get someone who's listening to the spoken word to take a minute out of their shoes and go into someone else's shoes, and really feel what it's like to be in their shoes, whether I'm
MashaAllah. That's a talent. That's a talent to have, to be able to cut that up and put yourself in somebody else's shoes and then write about that. That is talent in itself.
But it's also something that can be developed as well. Like there is talent there, but it's also something like I've heard a lot of stories as a youth worker. Like as you know, you hear stories about what young people are going through. I remember like when I used to volunteer for the Muslim Youth Helpline, on a weekly basis, stories of things that have happened to them and all this kind of stuff. So it's all about relaying those stories in the spoken word.
Tell us about some of the stories because I was going to touch on that. I know you used to work for the Muslim Youth Helpline. Tell us about some of the stories you would hear.
So it's crazy. It's like, you know, brothers. I'll be honest with you, brothers raping their own sisters and stuff like that. Yeah. So it's like that's like one of the most craziest. Like we had this woman call up. We had this girl call up, and she was like self-harming. She was very depressed and she was self-harming. And you know, you go into the stories of like first you explore why they're self-harming for hopefully they're not doing it. But the story behind this person was that like some time ago her brother raped her. And she can't deal with it anymore now. And
did she go to the authorities?
Well, no, because it was in the family. So it was
but it doesn't matter. Even if it's in the family, you still go to the authorities. Why did
she was more concerned about how to break it to her mom.
Oh mate.
So it was just stuff like that. So you know, went into her story, explored options, empowered her, all these kind of things, but the decision was left to her, like what she wants to do. But then there was another story of the same thing happening, but the mom took the side of the brother, as in she didn't believe her.
Oh my God.
So it was really, really bad. And then there was times of
don't tell me what communities they're from, because we
don't really know. So we don't really take that. We didn't really take that detail down. So all we know is that they're from the Muslim community, and that's all that we needed to know.
Yeah, obviously being Muslim Helpline, but you know, it's heartbreaking, man. Absolutely heartbreaking.
It is, and like it got to the point where, you know, us volunteers realized that something else needs to be done. Like, so for example, like, you know, some other thing more than a helpline. And what's the good thing about YouTube?
That thing is, you're supposed to be protecting your women folk, you know, around you or in the house, and you know, your own sibling or whatever. It's just like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
like,
and that's the thing.
It's absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah, I don't understand how anyone could do that to their sister. But flip it around, like we had a young boy call us because he was being molested by his uncle. So we had stuff like that. So we had a lot of stuff like that, and then, you know, spiritual stuff as well. People calling us about doubts and all these kind of things.
About what?
About doubts, about the doubts that they're harboring. No, they're going through a spiritual crisis.
When you say doubts about the deen, doubts about being Muslim,
all of it. So all that kind of stuff. So yeah, you know, those are some of the stories that I was coming across.
Did you do a lot of mental health on there as well and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, all the time. We had to refer people to professional mental health services. So mental health was a big issue. Relationships was, like I said, massive issue.
Is that still ongoing? Muslim Youth Helplines? Are you still in touch with them?
I'm no longer part of them anymore now. As far as I'm concerned, they're still ongoing on a smaller scale. But they're still around. I know the CEO still. So yeah. So as far as I'm concerned, they're still going.
Wow, there's a lot of issues out there, and sometimes we blanket things. The Muslim community sometimes blankets it and pretends as if there's nothing going on, but there's a lot of issues.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
There's a lot of issues that need to be addressed and that need to be dealt with, and we shouldn't turn a blind eye from these issues. We should address them, because if we address them, we're going to make our community a lot better.
Yeah, definitely, and address them head on. And so around that time, things like YouTube, because I was part of Muslim Youth Helpline from 2007 to 2011, and around that time, things like YouTube was new, you know. So people were still learning.
Yeah? Sorry, YouTube was just popping off that time.
Yeah, it was just popping off. So, but now, things like YouTube videos, all that stuff can help, and it makes professionals, people who are in the profession of maybe life coaching and stuff like that, it makes them more accessible. So that's the good thing about this kind of technology that we have. it can, videos and things like that can help reach people.
Yeah, it has it.
You know, and the thing is that people can, you know, when you want to help someone, they're, you know, especially people going through really, really tough times, a lot of them tend to listen to the advice more sincerely when they're like by themselves, when they're really in a state of vulnerability and stuff like that. You know, that's when they can take on the advice more sincerely. And that's when YouTube helps, because if they come, you know, sometimes, you know, we're all in our rooms, we're all by ourselves, you know, we're flicking through the YouTubes and, you know, Facebook and stuff like that. And there have been cases of people coming across videos that have messages that they needed to hear right there and then. You understand? And it saved their lives. It literally has saved their lives. I know of stories of people who have literally like come across videos and stuff at the right time on the brink, and it saved their lives. So things like YouTube and stuff, that can help, because it can help reach people ways and in times where maybe professional services can't help.
Yeah, it has. It definitely, I agree with you. Social media definitely has its negatives and its positives, and if it's used for positive things, it can definitely help people and aid them, definitely. So, Mizan, tell us, where does your inspiration come from for writing these poems that you write? And
so like I said, so I had rappers and stuff like that, which I was really, really kind of fond of.
I'm sure I read somewhere that Rumi was a big inspiration for you as well.
Yeah, Rumi, the classical poets were very inspirational. Rumi does have an inspiration in there, but I think contemporary times, I'll be honest with you, it's like, you know, the Wu-Tangs, the Tupacs, and all these other people. Like, I'm not encouraging listening to the music, but it's like the writing style, it's like the things that they would write about, the way that they would write.
Tupac Shakur was a poet, wasn't he? In his own right, he was a poet.
So,
I've actually got a poetry book of his.
Yeah, The Rose That Grew from Concrete.
Basically.
Yeah. I
bought it for the wife, as it goes, and it's actually full of some really great poems.
Yeah, it is, and that was the thing that really got me started off in 2006, like poetry and stuff like that. I remember getting it and reading it. And it's just things like that. Amir Suleiman is another one, massive inspiration as well. But for me, like contemporary wise, like people like George the poet.
I was going to say George, man. George is pretty good, isn't he? George the poet. He's
George really is awesome, man. George is like, for me, his rhyming style is the one. Like literally. I really, really love that, man. And
yeah, I've been a fan for a while, to be honest with you. Do you like that one that he done called YOLO? Do you see that one that he done for Jules Holland called YOLO?
I loved it, but then
smash YOLO completely.
Not just YOLO. I love 50 Man. You like Blame Game. Blame Game as well, which is what I love.
I like the one where he done. It's about what's it called again? It's about social enterprises and stuff like that. What's that one called again?
I forgot that one, but I think I know which one you're talking about. He done it on SBTV.
Yeah, where he's got the book out and everything. I can't remember the name of it. Yeah. Anyway, that one was an absolute classic, to be honest with you. So tell us, you went on to study computer science at Westminster University. Yeah. And what were your plans after that?
I didn't have any plans. So Westminster University, that's when I realized I did not really like computer science. second year.
At least you're honest, though. Yeah. The problem is a lot of people go and study. What I like about you, you're just straightforward. A lot of people go and study, right? Okay, right, and they get this certificate and they pretend that. Do you know what I mean? I really wanted to do this.
I hated it. Oh my god! Like, I loved IT during college time and the first year of university, but then in the second year, the second half of the second term, I was like, oh my god, I hate this completely. Like, I hate this completely. And I remember actually going to counseling sessions, because if I didn't really do anything about it, this was really going to affect whether I pass or not.
Right.
IT was generally hard, but the fact that you hated it really badly makes it even more harder. So I remember going counseling, and some of my teachers, like, I remember them thinking, oh, you know what, it's going to take a conversation. Let's just talk about it. Let them talk about it. And after like the session, they'll be like, Miss, you really do hate this. like, what are you gonna do? And I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. But I passed it, alhamdulillah. Like, I was like,
MashaAllah.
I can't change. So
MashaAllah. Yeah, congrats.
But then that's why I went into the charity sector. I was just like, you know what, I hate this completely with passion. And that's not the funny thing, but like, you know, the strange thing about it is I hate IT and I passed it. In my year, there were people who loved in my class. There were people who loved IT. They done it like they
didn't pass.
They didn't pass. They took an extra year to pass it.
I knew it. I knew they didn't pass.
Like, oh my God, you must have been really bad if I hated it. And I passed. Oh, you must have been really bad.
SubhanAllah. Mizan, tell us about War Child, the organization that you worked with called War Child. Tell us about.
So I've done a spoken word poem for War Child. So what happened is War Child is a charity that, from what I know, works with children in war-torn countries, countries that are going through, war, poverty, and all those kind of things. And there was a charity event. So someone invited me to perform at a charity event for War Child. It was a fundraising event for War Child. And I thought, okay, let me look into them a little bit. Let me do some research. So I done some research, and they have a project where they work with child soldiers, rehabilitate child soldiers. And I thought,
wow,
perfect, because I've always wanted to write about something about child soldiers. So I mean, I can't remember the poem now, but the thing is, back then I thought, okay, you know what? Let me write something about child soldiers. I wanted to write something about child soldiers anyway, and this will just be the perfect opportunity. So I wrote I've done a bit of research into the project. Then I've done some research into the actual phenomenon of child soldiers. Came across some ex-child soldiers who done TED Talks and all that kind of stuff, and so was listening to the lectures and stuff just to get that glimpse of what it's like, and just hearing their stories made me.
Did you meet a rapper that was a child soldier called Emmanuel?
He's the one. I haven't met him, but I've read his TED Talks.
What's his name? Is it Emmanuel Jia? Emmanuel Jia?
Something like that. I found something like that. So he's the one that I'm actually thinking of. So
he's Sudanese, right? From South Sudan. I've read his story. He's actually from South Sudan, and he was actually a child soldier. And I think what happened with him was, years later, obviously when he developed himself and he got over the trauma of actually being a child soldier, he actually turned the trauma that he went through actually into art. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's the thing. So he was, I think he was a rapper, and he was like a more creative person. So
Manuel Jal, that's it.
Yeah. So I was listening to a lot of his talks, and just getting the feel of what it was like. And then I was actually reading some testimonies from War Child itself in terms of the stories of children that were forced into this life. And so it's like kidnapping and things like that. And I just thought, okay, so once I read a few testimonies, just made me feel a certain way. Yeah. And then when I felt that way, I was like, okay, I'm connected now. Bam, let me just write this poem. So I wrote this poem like in the form of a story of a child soldier. And it just I really wanted to take people on the journey of, people that attend creative events over here in the UK. A lot of them have come from a certain lifestyle. Yeah. They might not know about certain things. So it's really just taking them, grabbing them, and putting them into the shoes of a child soldier and look, this is what it's like. And the best thing is that afterwards, after the spoken word, what I do is I take 30 seconds out just to explain a few things, explain a few political ideas, concepts. And so one of the things that I liked about this is that, yes, this was based on a story or a number of stories of people who have been child soldiers in Africa, for example, in the African continent. But and obviously then, you hear stories about abductions and all these kind of things, and people get horrified. But then I'm like, well, it's a form of that is also happening here as well. Like when you have the military industrial complex kind of investing in computer games and all these kind of things, and all computer games about war. There's a computer game about Fallujah, actually the massacre of Fallujah that happened in
No,
Iran.
they shouldn't have made a game about that. I think that's.
Yeah, they made a game about that.
I think that's absolutely tasteless, man. The amount of people that died in Fallujah.
So
do you know what I mean?
there's a new game coming out about that, and it's like this is the same thing. So like, yes, they're not kidnapping people, but we do have youth brigades over here, young people, young teenagers over here who are training to be military soldiers, and then you have the military industrial complex who recognizes that it's not going to kidnap youngsters, but it's going to invest in industries that they are involved in to kind of appeal to them. So I get to have that discussion.
Get into their mindset. Nice. Get into their mindset, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's like, what I don't want people to leave feeling is that because I'm mainly performing in front of a Western audience, I don't want people to leave thinking that, oh, this is only things that happen in the African continent, like what happens to children. No, like you have a military industrial complex over here as well, which invests heavily in industries that young people are interested in and are involved in. And the reason why they're interested in is because they want to appeal to those young people to become soldiers. So now you have like certain things, like for example, drones and all that kind of stuff that, for example, PlayStation joypads and stuff like that, because that's what these young people are more, they're more kind of comfortable with. They're more used to playing PlayStation games.
And things like Grand Theft Auto, where they just kill people and do all kind of madness and everything. My son said to me, Dad, can I get Grand Theft Auto? I said, no, where are you going with that? They're just teaching you all kind of madness on a game, on a computer game.
So it's crazy, like some of the stuff that they're coming up with. So in Grand Theft Auto, it's like I used to play Grand Theft Auto back in the day. So I played it, but then so like you could do what, like you're involved in all these kind of crime-ridden storylines. But then there's then after a while I stopped. I actually stopped computer games altogether because I just grew out of them. But then there were other versions of Grand Theft Auto Neo ones where it's like your character, like you could go on the street and you can rape a woman. Like that's one of the things that you could do. Like you could
in Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, in Grand Theft Auto.
I didn't know that.
One thing you could do is crazy.
I was gonna get if my son, my wife said to me, "Are you gonna let him get Grand Theft Auto? Have you read it? What it's about?" And I thought I didn't know, and then I've read it, and I was like, "No, man, he can't get this. Nah."
Yeah, no. So it's real crazy, like Grand Theft Auto or all these computer games, but also these war games. It's like they make it, they make that kind of thing really appealing. They glorify killing, and obviously one of the reasons is because of, most of the times they glorify it because they're based on Western countries, they're based on Western superiority, but also the military industrial complex is really invested in those things. They want to make it.
I think also you're right there, Mizan, to be honest with you. Great touching on that. I think it's also a bias as well, because from what I can see is that it's okay for it to be promoted as a game, killing. Okay.
Yeah.
They find it absolutely fine for it to be promoted as a game. But what you are putting into people's psyche is the act of killing, which I think is really wrong. And there has been some studies showing that some people that play computer games all day long, some of them end up, especially places like America, some of them end up taking up a gun and going killing a load of people because they've been sitting down playing this game for so long, and all they've been doing is just shooting people. And a situation comes, or they have an argument and stuff like that, and they lose their temper, and all they're doing is just zoned into these kind of games. They pick up the thing and they go and start shooting. I don't know if it happens in every case, but I know there is a lot of cases where.
So it does make violence more appealing, but like if I could just separate it now, it's like the violence is more appealing, but there's an also added problem with computer games itself, which is that if you look at countries like in Southeast Asia,
big
Asian
problem.
countries, massive problem, and there are a lot of vulnerable people. There are a lot of people who don't have a real life, who don't have many friends, who are bullied and stuff like that. They found more meaning in a computer game than they find in real life. And there are actual stories of, for example, young children, like teenagers. Like, I actually know this one story of a teenager who, I think it was World of Warcraft or something like that, one of these games. He started playing it. It was one day, it was a Friday night, and I'm not actually joking, Friday night. he started playing it on the imagine Friday night, 8 o'clock. You put on the PlayStation, started playing it. Guess when he stopped?
When?
Sunday night. So you went straight Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday morning, and he stopped playing that non-stop, not even eating, bro.
No, man, it's really addictive for some of them. We got as parents, all the Muslim parents out there that are watching this, you need to really watch your kids, and you need to limit the time that they play on these games, and don't let these games overtake their mind, because what's going to happen is you're gonna have a child that might end up having some psychological issues, and they might end up having some anger issues because they're playing these games all day long. And don't let it stop their studies, and you need to limit it, and you need to ban them sometimes from it, to let them know that, hey, your whole world doesn't consist around playing computer games. You actually have a life out there. There's so many other things that you can do. You can interact with people and stuff like that, because mentally, I don't think it's that good for them to be on those games all the time. And they're from what I can see as well, at home and from studies, from what I can see, it's really important, that children get their education. And sitting on the computer game all day long is damaging some of them in terms of education, because they find it difficult to communicate. Yeah,
and it's not just children; it's happening in teenagers as well, and in some cases
adults. Yeah.
But the thing is like, for me, from the stories that I know that I've researched, the most important thing is to make sure that you have a bit of a real life. You have a life outside where it is meaningful, there is purpose in it, and you're getting some kind of meaning out of it. Because from what I know is like, these vulnerable people, they don't have much of a life outside or much meaning outside. Some people take it overboard, but most of them, they don't have much meaning outside, and so they find more meaning in the computer game.
There's so many things they can do. They can go swimming, you can play football, you can do archery, you can go rock climbing, you can go camping. There's so many things you can do. You don't have to sit on that computer.
Yeah, and it's not just what you can do, but you can get real meaning out of real life. You can get meaning, you can get honor, you can get respect in real life. I'd rather have it in real life than have it in a computer game,
100%.
Obviously it's not I would rather get it in real life than a computer game.
For real.
The thing is that some people, real life is very difficult. So the computer game is just, you just immerse yourself in it. And as looking back at it, going back, as when I was a child, the types of games that we were playing, like you're talking about in the mid-90s, they weren't so engrossing. But if I had access to these games now, I reckon I would be engrossed as well, completely.
Yeah, they're quite captivating, aren't they? They really captivate them. I've seen kids play. I mean, I read a story once where a kid was playing Fortnite or something like that, and it's like defecated. Not defecated, but they actually went to toilet on themselves, weed themselves.
Yeah, that's just crazy. So it's like, there's a lot of things that we need to work on as a society. And as we touched on computer games, that is one thing that we're not really talking that much about. So to the parents listening, it's like, yes, regulate computer games, but also make sure your child has a bit of a life outside.
Brilliant. You've just given me an idea for a show on that. So we're gonna talk about that next time. Mizan, I want you to give us some poetry today. For us viewers on Radio Ramadan. I know that you've done an album a while ago. I know there's probably going to be a second album in the pipeline. I know you've been on lockdown, and I reckon you've been writing. I know for sure, because the kind of individual you are, I know you probably wrote some gems going forward. I'll let you choose a couple of poems that you want to do today, inshallah, for us and the listeners in this blessed holy month of Ramadan. For those of you just tuned in, we've got Mizan the poet on the show today on Ramadan Radio 87.9 on your FM dial with Merely Kamara, Muslim poet. If you don't know Mizan the poet, he's actually a poet based in London, does a lot of charity work for the Muslim Youth Line, and he does a lot of work with food kitchens and stuff like that, and he's always helping out for humanitarian causes and speaks on them, and is very active in that field. Fire away, Mizan. Up to you, man.
Okay. All right. So this one's something new. This one's called More Than a Heartbreak. Okay. And yeah, there's a story behind it, which people will see during the middle and the end of the poem. But I'm just going to go into it. So this one's a new one. So Bismillah. He goes. Bismillah. I feel betrayed in a way that's impossible to describe. I can't find the right words. I just can't define the feeling. I actually can't believe I'm not dreaming. Just picture smashed glass on the floor. Yeah, that resembles everything I believe in, which makes it so hard to pick up the pieces in such a mind state, because my story, there's more to my story than a typical heartbreak. Today's one of those days where I just feel like giving up. True story, I've had enough. Does life have any meaning when you've lost the ability to love? When your loved one completely destroys your ability to trust again? This feeling, I feel like I've hit life's dead end. But I kept on going, thinking I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. All because relationships are difficult and are hard, but I kept on going, thinking I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Relationships are hard, but you maintain, stay strong, do anything you can to avoid the rubble. Avoid being down in the rocks, left emotionally scarred. I remember how we met at the demo to save the NHS, but there's nothing in the NHS to mend a broken heart. That was 5 years ago. 5 years of living an undercover lie. I mean, I think I would have dealt with it better if you were just seeing another guy. But that's the issue. You weren't. And when I found out the truth, it's like someone put life on silent. With every line I read, I felt vulnerable because my security was at risk. I was frightened. For 5 years, you weren't who I thought you was. You were an undercover cop and delivering intel on me. That was your assignment. When I read the article, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't believe that I was violated like that. Yeah, violated. Raped by the state is how this kind of feels, so I self-isolated. I thought I was the only one until I Googled Helen Steele. And I have to admit, it was eye-opening to find out that this has happened before. Activists sexually manipulated by the long arm of the law. Believe it or not, it actually happens. A fairy tale start to a relationship ended in a way I couldn't have ever imagined. I had dreams of settling down, kids, having a family, but the undercover operation basically robbed me of my dreams, destroying everything in me because for 5 years I was literally sleeping with the enemy. I never thought that I'd have to protect myself from the person I used to lie next to. I never thought that I'd be the one being lied to. But that's only half the stuff that she put me through. My heart was crushed the day she testified, sending me to jail for something I did not do. That fire, she did it. It was all her idea. But I'm the one in prison trying to make sense of the past 5 years, struggling, trying not to give in to depression, although it's so easy to succumb. I'm learning to fight that because the police have to pay for what they've done. And yeah, I don't recognize the person I've become. Suffering from anxiety attacks, more nervous and more fearful of what's to come. Still, I'm going to end up by saying this. My war, my activism, my quest for justice hasn't stopped. No, it's only just begun. So that's a new poem that I wrote.
Like it, mashallah, like it. Before you go into the next one, because inshallah, I want to talk to you briefly as you can. I know it's actually a very hot topic at the moment, and it's very sensitive for a lot of the Muslims around. I want to talk about what's happening in Palestine at the moment. And for all the viewers and listeners, I would say please make dua for the people of Palestine. Masjid al-Aqsa has been attacked, as you know, and they're under siege, and it's a very difficult situation for our brothers and sisters down there in the holy month of Ramadan. So let's make dua for them, inshallah. And we have to make dua for them, and we have to touch on this issue because the Prophet said, you know, the Muslim brother is one brother and to a sister and to another, inshallah, and make dua for them. Nelson Mandela said, until the Palestinians have freedom, then we don't have no freedom.
Yeah.
If the Palestinians, and it's an apartheid regime down there, they're attacking them and brutalizing them, and I'm quite surprised that the national media hasn't really touched on this in a big way. Mizan, you know a lot about this because I know that you work a lot with the forums that deal with this thing day in, day out. Tell us about this.
Yeah, Jazakallah khair. So yeah, it's important to make dua for them, and it's important to do what we can to help alleviate their suffering. It's a classic case of settler colonialism, basically. That's how the whole issue started, and that's what's basically going on. In East Jerusalem, you have families who are going to be evicted. There's about 4 to 6 families who have been, gone online to be evicted, and there's a fear that a lot of the other Palestinian families are going to be evicted from their homes.
Sheikh Jarrah, a place called Sheikh Jarrah, right?
Sheikh Jarrah and East Jerusalem. That's one of the reasons why, and that's the story behind why you're seeing what's going on in Masjid al-Aqsa, because the community aren't really allowing, they're standing up for their rights. They're not allowing Palestinian families to be evicted from their homes. But this is an ongoing ethnic cleansing and settler colonialism that the Palestinian people have had to deal with since before 1948. So a lot of people start at 1948, where, the establishment of the state of Israel, after that, you had the Nakba, the catastrophe and, the ethnic cleansing that happened. But the thing is that it's been going on before that. And, the establishment of the state of Israel was a culmination of what happened before. But then it's like, since the state was established, you have further ongoing settler colonialism and ethnic cleansing that has been incrementally happening.
And what makes me a bit surprised is that how come a lot of the other Arab countries have not come together and said, let's try and stand up for brothers and sisters, let's try and solve this solution, instead of idly standing by and watching your people get brutalized and get humiliated in this type of fashion. You have the means, you have media, you have everything, you have the wealth as well. Why don't you aid them?
So that's a hard question, but the main reason is that, like it or not, since the beginning, the Arab countries, a lot of the Arab countries like Jordan, etc., have been in bed with the Zionist movement. They've literally been working with the Zionist movement, and so since we don't have a lot of time, I'm just going to quickly go into it. They've been and what Israel has done is since the establishment is that Israel has helped under the table. It has helped those Arab regimes sustain themselves from the beginning. So there's been a mutual relationship from the beginning.
So they basically helped them to build their societies, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, they're intelligence services, yeah. But I think we're going to cut off now because I think we've got like 10 seconds left or something like that.
Mizan, it's been amazing having you on Ramadan Radio today. This discussion will go on another show, inshallah. We'll book you for something else, and we could talk about this at great length, inshallah, on our podcast, the Narratives podcast, inshallah. It's been amazing to have you on the show today. You can finish up with some poetry if you like, inshallah. Have a great iftar. Death Before Dishonor, up to you.
To be honest with you, I can't remember a lot of the poems.
No worries.
But what we'll do is, we'll make a dua. May Allah alleviate the suffering of brothers and sisters. May Allah help us all. May Allah may Allah grant, may Allah accept all of our fasts, all of our Ramadan, inshallah, and may Allah accept our ibadas, and may Allah accept you, brothers and sisters, inshallah.
Ameen. And keep the Palestinians in your dua, inshallah, every single day, inshallah, and may Allah alleviate their stress and their problem down there, inshallah, with the help of the real Muslimin, with the real hearts, inshallah, that love their brothers and sisters, inshallah, and that will do anything, inshallah, to aid them and help them, inshallah. Mizan, been amazing having you on Radio Ramadan today with me,
Thank you so much, bro.
87.9 on your FM dial. We'll catch you soon. Have a blessed Ramadan. And if I don't see you before the Eid, inshallah, Eid Mubarak in advance, inshallah.
Eid Mubarak. Assalamu alaikum, bro.
My brother. Wa alaikum